does. We're live.
There you go.
It says we are now live. Okay, so first, I'm not an interviewer. So don't expect a lot of fancy stuff because this is not me. But the reason I wanted you here is when I was doing a chat last month, I thought about you in your books, and I don't know if you remember when we first met at IRAE, the
Yeah.
first conference, and I got to thinking about you, and all of a sudden I had all these questions for you, and I was like, "Ooh, I wonder if I can get her to come, and I can like pick her brain, and we could talk." So that's why I asked you here.
Yeah.
So
Go for it.
oh, wait, in the comments. Somebody got a comment already. Oh, hey, y'all. Somebody's there. Hey, back.
Yeah.
um, so introduce yourself. We got one person.
There we go. There we go. Well, my name is Michelle Prince, and I live in Minnesota, and I write a little bit of everything. So, and I kind of like, I guess my new little tagline kind of thingy is I write heroines that don't need their hero, but they want them.
Oh, I like that.
You know, because I don't like the ones where I'm gonna die if I'm not with them.
Oh, no. So when did you
Yeah.
start writing?
When did I start
When,
writing?
yeah.
Okay, so I was first published in 2012.
Okay.
If you don't count, in high school I got, a poem published in a book, but it wasn't, it's one of those things where I got really frustrated with the book. And I think it was about 2007 or 2008, I started writing something that I had just been kind of like scratching away at, but then I'd throw it away because I worked the night shift in the ER and I was just bored. I was writing stuff out. And then I decided to finally pick it up and actually start writing. And that's, I would say, probably 2007 or 2008 is when I actually started writing and then started looking at the whole publishing world and what it
Mhm.
would take to actually get a book published. So
So did you go indie to
I,
publish
w-
it?
I technically would be traditional. I found a small pup press. They're not around
Mhm.
anymore. They put out my first 5 books, and then actually 4 other ones under a different name that I don't use anymore.
Oh,
And
okay.
then yeah, and then they switched their way, and I was ready to. I had found another publisher in between, so I kind of moved over, and I kept moving over, and then finally I got pulled into a group that was doing, everybody released on the same day type promo thing, and I had to learn how to indie publish, and so now I'm a hybrid.
Good. Okay. All
So
right. Yeah, I my first publisher was a small independent publisher, Lucid.
mhm.
Um, I used to buy books from them, and then while I was working with them, they had the rights to my True series. I contracted a book with Phase, which worked out because
Mhm.
when Lucid didn't want book 2 of my True series, Phase snapped it up. So I did the publisher thing for probably until 2014 when one of my publishers folded and took my books and I had to fight to get my books back.
That's one thing I will say. I have been very lucky. I've had 3 different publishers now fold, and every one of them has been wonderful and gave me my rights back immediately. I guess technically another one, but I had gotten through the end of my contract and I already had my books back. Another one, the owner passed away and the daughter didn't want to take it on.
Okay.
So really, I've had really good luck with who I've been. I mean, I see all the horrible,
Oh yeah.
horrible stories that have gone on, and I was originally with Rebel Ink Press, and they just kind of just gave me everything, including my covers. They're like, here, you can just have everything. And then I was with Secret Cravings, and she did this pretty much the same thing, except for I had to pay for the covers if I wanted to keep them. And then I made that choice on what I wanted to do with that. And I moved those over to a different publisher, and then I was with JK for a while, and finally the owner was getting really sick, and so she was missing pay. And not that she paid us out in the end, but she was just always in the hospital. And we're
Right.
like, this is too much stress for you. And, there's only a couple of us here. Just let it go. And she gave us all of our rights back immediately. And like I said, I've lucked out. I lucked out with the wood, knock, knock. But yes, I've lucked out and had some really, there were smaller publishers, things happen, but they all gave me my rights back, so I'm very happy about that.
That's good. It's I'm kind of sad to see a large majority of the small indie publishers kind of fall away because they couldn't keep up when so many authors started self-publishing. They're money makers. They were losing them, and the people that they had left wasn't really enough to bring the money in because I know Lucid was considered the big four. It was Alora's Cave,
Yeah.
Lucid. I mean, not Lucid. Yeah, Lucid, Alora's Cave, Sam Hain, and FaZe were
Yeah.
considered the big four. And I didn't think they would ever go under. And when Lucid sent out a thing saying, we're gonna have to give everybody their rights back because it's just not financially possible for us to keep going this way. I was like, ooh, it's really rough out there.
Yeah, Laura's Cave kind of exposed a lot of things when they went down, and I was surprised that Sam Hay went. That one I was, because
Oh
I thought
yeah, they had a contract with Berkeley and everything.
yeah, I was very surprised when I was kind of sad because that was one of the ones that I would occasionally submit to. Like, please take me.
I know. I tried to get on with them. Yeah, it didn't work. so, so what was your first book?
My first book was Chrysalis, so I actually got that
Okay.
one out. So my whole series there, that was my first book, and yeah.
So tell me about it.
So Chrysalis actually started the third book in this series starts with a girl that's getting ready to jump off a bridge. She's
Oh,
she's very upset. She doesn't know what's going to happen. Her husband is gone. She's just totally depressed. And she flips back as she's walking down the bridge. She flips back to when she first met her husband in high school. So I wrote that whole thing. This is, I didn't know what I was doing. Um, and so here I was getting through the meeting and how they fell in love and all this other stuff. So I decided, I'm like, wow, I have a lot written here, but Word to document. So I went and I Googled how long a normal novel is because I didn't know. And I'm like, at least I know my word count. Well, my word count was getting close to 100,000. And I'm like, oh, so this is a book. So I took that that prologue out of her jumping, and I finished up that book, and then I started moving the second one. I'm like, well, that's definitely not, the prologue's not going there. It's going in the third one. So that series is kind of a different one because it's the first two are their teen years, the last couple years of high school, and then when they're older, in their early 20s. And it's about a girl
okay.
whose family, yeah, her family's really messed up, and she finds out it's because the demon's been obsessed with her family. So when her sister should have, gone with her friends, she went with the boy and then got pregnant. And when her other sister, just different things that happen that you make that choice to go right or left. And a demon would always push them in the wrong direction. And once she fell in love, the demon was going after her because they didn't want anybody in their family to be happy. They wanted the misery in their family. So she had to learn it's okay to be happy because she didn't think, she you know, didn't think that was appropriate, and to learn how to fight the demons when they came after her because they got to the point that they were violent because she wouldn't just take their suggestions. And so
Oh,
she had to
wow.
learn to fight the demons. So,
Okay.
and, yeah.
Interesting. First book.
First book. Yeah, that was book one when she was, she was in high school, and the cute guy actually liked her, and so the first book is kind of just their relationship. Second book, he goes off to college, so she's kind of a little bit alone, and it's kind of how do you bridge that and how do you balance it, and you know trust issues and, you know, but she knows he's her soulmate. There's a whole thing. So, yeah.
So did your publisher classify it as YA, or was YA a thing back then?
So here's the thing. This is right when New Adult started.
Okay.
And so for some publishers, when I was sending it out just to try to get picked up, it was considered a crossover book because a crossover series because they start as kids and they go to adult. Well, then there's kind of a ruling with what it kind of got to the point because of Twilight, because she didn't have sex in the books and she didn't really swear in the books. There kind of became a rift where if you swore, if you had sex, if you did anything like that, suddenly Judy Blume is New Adult because she has sex and discusses that.
Right.
And so my books then switched. There were, I think at the time, All Romance ebooks, I think after it had been out for a year, finally put New Adult on there. And so my publisher said, hey, you can finally be New Adult, and then it started going to Amazon where at first they weren't putting it under New Adult. So it kind of came out right as New Adult was coming. And because even though it's a coming of age and it's totally a teen book, at the same time, because my character wants to have sex in book 1, has it in book 2, because she has, you know, these feelings towards a boy and how as girls it's okay, you know, since those things were explored a la Julie Blume style, it kind of got pushed into New Adult, and then it goes back and forth. So it just depends on people's moods on whether they're going to call it New Adult or if they're going to call it young adult. So
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, and if I didn't tell you, push on your comment button. You can see people posting stuff.
Oh, I'm trying to see. Can I hit on the comments? I say, hey,
them?
Olivia. I say, hi, Olivia. I see that.
Yes.
Another Facebook user. We're up to 3 people. Woo! I'm like, can I put a comment? I can't see how to put a comment, but I can talk back. So there we go. That works.
All right, let's see. Let's go to my my little. I put some little comments so I can stay on track.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I told you when I contacted you, I was going to get personal and I was going to talk about some race stuff. So I am titling this little section. There we go. Racism, stereotypes, and the Black hero.
Oh, trust me. We can start with book 1. Book 1
So
that I ever put out. Yes.
For my first recollection of having a dialogue with you was, I don't even remember what the panel was about at IRAE, but I remember somehow either the panel was about Black heroes or someone asked the question about Black heroes. And I remember I was on the panel and you were in the audience, and I don't remember what you said, but I remember me telling you that I don't read books with Black heroes because of my romantic history, my disappointing romantic history with Black men. So if I read a romance, he's going to be white or anything other than Black. So I want to talk about that a little bit because for those who don't know, Michelle is married to a Black male and you have a Black son.
Yep.
And we even talked about the fact that in the IR culture, most Black women consider interracial to be a Black woman with someone other than a Black male. And
I just had this conversation because I was asked by a reader. Oh, someone says Reggie. Yeah. That's my husband, Reggie. Because I was actually asked, what is reverse IR?
Oh, okay.
And I said, reverse IR is a white woman with a Black man. They go, but that's still interracial. I said, I understand, and I don't think about that. I'm just telling you that it's considered reverse, which it it's interracial. It doesn't any combination. That's just
Right.
anyway. So I'm like, technically, reverse IR would be a white guy with a white girl, but anyway. But I said that was one of the first things that I learned early on was reverse IR is what I write, and I'm like, well, okay, yeah. So, but yeah, we can start with the very first book where they were like, oh, Chrysalis. When I was sending it out to people, I got from publishers, you need to amp up the racism in the book, and I'm like, actually, that was book 2. That's where they have that issue. Book 1, they really don't have that issue because they're so into themselves
Right.
that they're blocking out the world. They don't have time for that. They're discovering themselves, and they're. I mean, Oscar was probably keeping her safe for that reason that he was
Mhm.
keeping her in the house and stuff. But there was a reason why they were doing that. And then in book 2, she has to confront that situation.
Now,
So
go ahead.
so yeah, and the stereotypes, we can hit that too. My son was like, you can't have a black man named Oscar as the hero. Black men aren't named, And I said, your father's name is Reginald. Your uncle's name is Alfred. Do not tell me I can't have an old white man name. It's like his name is Oscar, and that's just what it is. So yeah, I've got that, and I made him a Eagle Scout. He was a Boy Scout, but he was also very good in sports.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I do the intelligent, and I don't like the stereotypes, and it's part of the reason why I started taking my own pictures because I wrote a cowboy series, and I couldn't find a black cowboy that wasn't either blinged out or wearing Jordans.
Oh
I
yeah.
couldn't find a picture with a working cowboy. So I had to, it was one of those things. I'm like, but he's a working cowboy. He's still a cowboy. He's not going to be sitting there wearing, some huge expensive whatever, or it was the runaway slave look. I had the two. That was, my options.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, I can't do this. So yeah, that's kind of what I had to. It's getting better with stock art. I think because like black women have been demanding to get better stock art pictures for their
Hmm.
stuff. They're starting to realize, oh, black men too are probably, I'm finally starting to see ones. But I was looking up a sexy black cop, which of course gave me a bunch of white girls dressed in a sexy cop uniform because it was black anyway. And then I found this Yoda looking dude that had a badge around his chest. I'm like, this is the sexy black cop. Are you freaking kidding me? So yeah. So, but they're getting better on, and I'm doing my own stock art, so I don't have to worry as much. I can find my own men, but yeah, that would be the stereotypes that I get. I always say, since Othello, the black man with the white woman, he's gonna either kill her or pimp her out. So
Yeah.
mm,
I
yeah.
think I saw, I don't remember the author, but she was posting in a group that she wrote a book with a black hero. I guess it was part of a series. And this wasn't, this was probably a couple that she had introduced before. So she wrote his story and
Yeah.
paired him with, did she say, did she do, she, I don't think she did AA. She just, I don't remember. She just said that the hero was black. And like she was like, I will not do that again. I did not know so many women were bitter against black men, and basically they kind of came for her. And I'm like, okay, wow.
There are some. I have seen that with some authors where, especially if they write straight IR or like Rihanna and I, we wrote an amazing story, and when we decided we were going to do it, I said, do you want to do black woman or white woman?" And she decided she was going to go against what she normally does, because I write everything. I'll write AA, I'll write a white couple, I'll write interracial in any way, reverse or straight. I don't know how you want to call it. I'll do interracial, I'll do Hispanic, whatever. It's however the person comes to me.
Right.
And I think she got a little backlash for that, for doing even though our story I think is amazing and should be a Hallmark movie, but it's one, she didn't realize like the sales were nowhere near what she's used to, because people are like, oh no, I'm not going to read that. How dare, and she wrote almost the exact same story She wrote very similar to it because I was like, wait a second, that's our story. Put it out with a black woman and a white man, and it sold gangbusters. And I was just like, but it's what it is. It's
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, we're kind of the lowest on, sales when I do that. And my husband's told me more than once, just rewrite Chrysalis with a white couple and you'll sell it, gangbusters. And I said, I don't want to give up.
Right.
It's one of
Right.
those things that's like, as long as you keep making money, because everybody, I always joke that I put him out in his hooker heels. He's he's a webcam girl instead of out on the streets because of the pandemic. As long as you keep making money, I'll just keep doing my thing, and eventually people will catch up. And I do have ones that understand that. They like my heroes and heroines, however they come, and that's kind of the cool thing about it.
Yeah.
So
It is a struggle because I like you, I like to let my characters tell me who they are, and that includes race, culture, whatever. And like for my True Mate series, um, I have a character that I want to write his story, Caleb. He's black, but I'm like, who would I pair Caleb with? And the one black couple that I wrote, which they were Carol's mate, she'd already been introduced. I kind of did it as a prequel. So
yeah,
it was black woman, black male, but it's paranormal part of the series. That is my least sold book.
which is
And
crazy because AA does spell good. I wish they wouldn't we wouldn't necessarily get, I don't know, pigeonholed that way, that we can't just put out the book and be okay.
yeah, and that's the problem. I don't like labels. I don't like being considered an interracial author. I'm just a romance author. I write romance.
Yeah, yeah, and
Whether they,
I dropped the interracial a while ago because I'm
yeah,
like I am writing white heroes and white heroines. I am writing AA. I am writing whatever comes to me because especially with the cowboy series, which I see someone liked my cowboy series.
yes,
Um, it would have been ridiculous if I didn't have. They were all black cowboys in this family. It'd be ridiculous if I didn't write an AA into that. And all of a sudden we decided this generation everybody's going to get swirl. No, that's not how it works.
right.
And I love Harper. Harper's probably one of my favorite characters. I absolutely love her, and she's perfect for the brother she got in that cowboy series. So, but again, that was going against the stereotypes because I had asked somebody to write me a black cowboy, and I'll read their book, and they're like, write your own, and I'm like, fine. So there you go. So I wrote a cowboy book. That's kind of, it's one of those things like, don't challenge me. But with the characters going off on their own, I just wrote one because I have an agent now, and she's like, oh yeah, we're gonna put this out, and she had me write this book, and I'm sitting there going along, and all of a sudden my character comes out that her father's Nigerian. I'm like, well, that just adds a whole nother layer. Why would you do that to me? And it was just because she was going to her cousin's wedding, and all of a sudden it just ended up like, oh my goodness, so much research. Luckily, I have friends that are Nigerian from. I'm like, please tell me what I'm doing right or wrong. So, oh, that would make them so mad. I'm like, perfect. That's what I want. So, but it's letting those characters go where they're going to go, and I did not. I knew she was mixed race, but I did not realize that her dad was gonna be Nigerian. I'm like, why would you do that to me? That's a whole other layer I have to think about.
So, do you like writing series?
I do. I'm a serial whore.
Oh, okay.
I am. I try my hardest. I try my hardest to write just singles, and it just never works. So I've given up now. I just say I'm a serial whore, and I just kind of pay attention to the side characters because I know they're gonna get their own at some point. So
Now, are you a plotter or a pantser?
absolutely. No, I work both. I do both. I write with a co-writer for one of my series, so we have to plot. Now, whether we stay on that plot depends on the day, but we at least have to plot something out. And I did this. I went to this retreat, and one of the person that I went to learn one-on-one with, she's like, she's a pantser, but she had to start plotting because of contracts and whatever. So what we do is we figure out I figure out I know this scene, I know this scene, I know this scene. I lay it out and I try to figure out what happens in between. And that kind of at least keeps me on track. Now, as we know, characters do their things. And like I
Right.
said um with my with my co-writer, I'm sitting there, we never said we were going to blow something up. And she is notorious for blowing stuff up because it's an MC series. So she's always wanting action. I'm like, we never said we were going to blow anything up. And all of a sudden I'll get her pages back. I'm like, no, but whatever. And it's just kind of, that's an added thing into our little plot that we didn't have originally, but at least it keeps us on track and we know where we're going and what our goal is. But yes, I'm very much a pantser when it comes to doing it. I don't necessarily know what all is going to actually happen, but I have bullet points, like a plot.
So I'm going to get back to your MC series because that's what I'm listening to in audiobooks.
Yay!
Author collaboration. How does I've noticed you've been in some anthologies, like you did the
This is a Loving Day
Dildo
one.
series. I don't even want to call it that, but it was the Pussycat series. I'm trying to
Oh
remember.
yes, our kitty chronicles.
Yes, Kitty Chronicles. And
Yes,
then you did the Loving anthology.
Loving. Mm-hmm.
And of course your collaboration with what's her name?
Ren McCabe. Yep.
So how has that worked? Because me honestly, you give me a deadline and my brain immediately freezes. I do not do.
I like deadlines. But yeah, no, I can freeze too. No, and the thing is, I've written with 3 different authors. I've written with Rihanna.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written with Ren, and then I also have been writing with Dahlia Rose, but we both are getting hit with a bunch of stuff from all over at the same time, so our writing kind of got pushed to the side because it's a side project. But with each one, I find something different.
Mm-hmm.
So like with Rihanna is so good at that inner monologue. She can get that deep point of view, and I learned so much from her with that. And she learned that I will loosen up her language because I'm a dialogue person. I am the smart ass. So a lot of her stuff that was very formal, I'm like, oh no, we're rewriting this. And she's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. I'm like, exactly. So that's kind of where we worked with each other really well. With Ren does a really good skeleton for me. She's got everything going in place and it's moving along, and she does, she gets the thing moving, but I'm the one who throws the meat on it and makes it fat.
Okay.
That's kind of what I do with her. And then with Dahlia, it's crazy because, I've read her and I like her voice. I'm like, yeah, I can write with you. And then she sends me back her pages and I'm like, where did I stop? And where did she start? It's the craziest thing. I'm like, I didn't think our voices were this similar at all. And we're having, yeah. So, and let's see. Someone asked what my favorite series is. I actually love my ink series, my tattoo artist, and I wish it was more successful because I absolutely love that series. And I do love my MC series and stuff too. But
I'm gonna have to read your tattoo series. I was looking at that just before we logged on, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Let's talk about your MC series. Now, I could talk more about this because I've been listening to your audio. I'm on Preacher Girl.
Oh yeah.
So that's where I am.
I'm waiting for book 4 to be released by ACX. That's why I put my thing up there. I'm like, why won't this come out? It's been there for a month now. Come on, just release it.
Now, I got to a certain point. Okay, so I don't know if anybody has read her MC series, but you do the Montana chapter, but he's originally from the New Mexico chapter?
Yep, he's in New Mexico. Yeah.
So is there another series out there with the new? Oh, okay.
Yep. Ren writes New Mexico and she writes Texas. And then we write Montana. Basically, she was loving her New Mexico series, And she was doing really well. And she kind of was like, hey, would you write an MC book with me? I said, heck no, I ain't writing no stupid MC book. I don't know anything about the MC. She's like, I'll do the MC stuff. I'm like, nah, nah, nah. So, of course, what I tell you, do not challenge me, much like with the Black Cowboy. So I'm sitting there in my office, and all of a sudden I send her a message. I said, so I got this idea of this guy riding down the road, and there's a girl half laying out of the ditch. So I'll write one MC book with you. By the time we were at the end, we knew we wanted it to be a series. So we made sure that we set it up at the end to be a series. And Montana's kind of taken over everything. She's like, I gotta get book 4 out for New Mexico and book 2 out for Texas. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. We gotta get the book 9. We're working on book 9. Come on. So
I like it because I don't know if you saw my comment when I started listening.
yeah.
I was in a suspense mode, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is ticking all my boxes." Because you got the action,
Yeah, that's when blowing stuff up. Yeah,
you got the memory loss, which I love. I love when someone loses their memory, and the challenges that brings of her trying to know who she is and what happened to her and who's after her. I will tell you, roadkill. There was like a little scene that I was like, "Oh, you're getting on my nerves," because
that was probably written by me, I'm sure.
well, I researched MCs for my book Code Switching, so
yeah.
I'm familiar with it and what it means to be an old lady and the cuts and and how you're supposed to do it. So I kind of understood. I have a better understanding of the MC world now than I did when I first stumbled across MC books. But I like y'all take on it because he's starting a new chapter. They're all mostly 90% of them are like ex-military.
Yeah, most of them are. Yeah.
And I like the idea of the Underground Railroad that they're rescuing women from domestic abuse. I'm like, that is a very good twist.
That is a very Nova. That was Nova's thing, and
yeah.
because she, and I always say every error that is an MC error or crossing the line, kind of like Cass crossed the line a little bit, and Preacher Girl, if you're far enough into it, you saw where that was all me screwing up, and Ren going, oh no, we have to change it, and I said, no, because we don't know that, and we're going to teach people that, because I sure as hell didn't know. I thought, hey, he's trying to be a gentleman.
Right.
And so I said, we're going to help teach people as I screw up, because Ren does know the life. She does know what's supposed to be involved. It's a lot of times if I'm writing a scene and I know I have to do something that's very MC related, and I'm like, wait, I need to check the protocols. So, but yeah, no, everything that's a mistake, like Cass speaking over Steele, you don't do that.
Yeah.
So, that's me. And then making sure that he gets checked for it, or Hack doing the thing with the jacket, which I didn't realize. And it was funny because I was talking to somebody about it, and he was a guy who his son played football with. He's like, oh, we could have just taken the cut off. And I'm like, off the jacket because it's not attached. And I'm like, okay, we're going to try that in a different book, but thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you for the heads up. We're going to do that in a different book, because it's just a learning thing. And for me, especially with them being new and the guys being in such a bad one before, where Red was in a real one. Yeah, there's a whole world there that I'm trying to rein in and get the guys comfortable with.
I like the fact that they're all one of the things that I have a friend who is in a motorcycle club, female. And when I wrote Code Switching, she was like, she read it, and I was like waiting, like, oh, did I get everything right? And she was like, thank you. And I was like, for what? She said, because a lot of people don't realize that when they see us on our bikes, that we're all professionals. We have real jobs. We're not.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't our day job. Yeah. And we definitely have that with this. And I will say that in book 4, they changed what is said on the back of the women's cuts. Or wait, you probably haven't got that far. So the women women get cuts in book 3. Sorry, spoiler alert.
Okay, so we have Roadkill, because I haven't got that far yet. Roadkill, who was attacked and left for dead, has amnesia. And then book 2 is
Little Mama.
Thank you. Who they rescued her from I love what y'all did to him. I'm sorry. I love what y'all did to him.
What she did to him.
You or Ren?
That was me.
That was you? Okay.
Well, Ren kept saying, she's too sweet. She's too sweet. So I'm like, oh, you want to see sweet? I like scaring Ren every once in a while because I also in Roadkill, I was the one who took care of the deputy.
Oh, good. Okay.
I was the one. She's like, you're the sweet one. I'm like, I know. but yeah, with Little Mama, she kept saying she was too sweet. So I'm like, oh, I'll show you how sweet she is when she's pushed. So
yeah. So Preacher Girl. Now, don't give me any spoilers, but how on earth did y'all come up with the idea of this girl fleeing what is basically a cult?
Yeah, if you watched Escaping Polygamy, come on, I am all about junk TV.
Oh, I've seen that. That is a good show.
You know, I will watch junk. Almost all the women are being rescued from somebody asked. Book 4 is Little Bit, which is actually Christy's story. And Christy already had her issue, but there are women being rescued, a woman and a child that get rescued in that series, in that book. Not all of them. Some of the women actually, like Topaz, which is book 8, she's actually part of the club. So, but there's always women being rescued at some point. But it's not always the women being rescued that become the love interest. It can be a club member. It can be somebody else, much like book 4 is Christy's story. So yeah, because we didn't want it that everyone, they get rescued, and actually at some point they get called on. Well, why are these rescues staying here?
Yeah.
By the underground network. They're like, wait a second, we're not just supplying you with women. We're trying to get them into better situations. And so that does come up. So not every heroine on the cover. And even in our book 9 one, I'm not sure if we're gonna have a rescue in that one yet. We're still trying to finish that one out, because that one is one, it starts off with a really bad motorcycle wreck and a woman who stops and is helping them. And so it's called Nightingale because she's a nurse, and she stops and helps them when they're in a trauma situation and makes sure that they're taken care of. So not every single one, but yeah, quite a few. Dreamer is a rescue. Cream, I don't want to say she's a rescue because she's actually one of the rescuers. She's one that works in the network, but she does have some other stuff going on that, and a really bad, she has a really, really dark past. So yeah. And she gets the hot guy that looks like Jax from Sons of It, so it looks like Charlie Hunnam. So I think she did okay.
I like the way that you two write the women, because not everyone can write a victim and keep a balance, if you know what I mean. Some people take it too far. She's too much the victim, or like I stopped reading Maya Banks because I'm like, can you stop dogging your women, please? Just can you?
Yeah, there has to be inner strength with our women. There is the you look at Little Mama. She was with that guy for 8 years.
Right.
He did horrible things to her until it crossed a line, and she knew she was in the wrong space. She just felt stuck and trapped, and that's where a lot of these women are coming from. And actually, we start incorporating a therapist as we move further in the series. There's a therapist named Doc that does video chat because it's the middle of Montana, nobody's up there, but it's somebody that Red knew when he went through medical school. So she understands the military. She understands all these different things. and she understands PTSD so well because she's in the
Mhm.
military, and she's also female, so the women can feel comfortable talking with her. And so we incorporate her, and she also understands the shortness, like especially with Topaz. She deals with her a lot, and Topaz is very closed off for a reason. She ends up with a guy named Onyx who comes in later, and he's our only black hero, and he thinks that she hates him because she's black, when really there's a whole history behind why she is trying not to fall in love with him. Very, very dark.
So
Very
how did
that.
y'all do your research for um like I mean, because I studied a little bit of psych, so I know there's a whole lot that goes into that domestic abuse cycle and why women stay in it and what eventually causes them to get out if they can get out. How did y'all handle the research on it?
Well, Ren's a survivor.
Oh, okay.
She has it from that standpoint. Um, my husband has worked. He actually worked on the other side trying to get the men to rethink why they're doing this, to try to get them to stop and kind of, well, let's look at this a little bit different. And it was he's a really good resource for causation. And then there's a lot out there that you can talk to different people, um, and make sure that we keep them right and keep that balance of, what, she's got to heal. Because like in Little Mama, she's pregnant. Do we have her have sex before or after she has the babies? What's
Right.
going to be appropriate? And I put it in my readers group, and we kind of got mixed things. And finally, I was like, you know what? She can't wait. She's had horrible situations for so long, and he has no. And it was more him accepting her, even though she has this big belly because she's got these twins, and
Mhm.
he finds her just as sexy as when and it
Right.
was, and she needed that. She needed that. She needed somebody to accept her for who she was, her body type at that moment, not being whatever her ex wanted her to be. So,
Yeah. I wanted to choke her mom when her
oh
mom
yeah,
sided with her ex. And I know that happens, but it was so sad that her mom was more interested in his status than her
and I
daughter's
yeah, and I've known people. My husband's worked with people. He had a friend who, black mother, he was introduced because they're friends, they're coworkers. He was introduced, and her mother, when he left, yelled at him, "How dare you bring a black man in my house?" I'm like, "You're a black woman and you're sitting here yelling." She's like, "He's just a friend, he's a coworker." She's like, "He's such a great," and she made sure her daughter married a white man, and he had to have this and he had to have that. I'm thinking, you're just tearing this poor woman down all the time. And I kind of wrote her into book 2 of my Ink series, because she's the woman who's passing, because she's been told you're blessed to have this, and it's kind of my way of working through, because I can't understand how a mother could sit there and just tear their daughter down who looks just like them, or to the point that, and so it was my kind of working through that, and my character working through that it's okay to love yourself. Don't this it's something that we've never understood. I never understood but Reggie had more than one person that had that happen. Black women that he knew that were told by their mothers they better not go near him because you need to find a white man. We'll set you up with this guy, and he is, it doesn't matter how, if you don't love him, it doesn't matter if he doesn't care about you. There's only one thing that matters. And yeah, so, and don't worry, my mom comes back. She still has her issues, but she pops in a couple every once in a while.
Okay.
She's getting better. She's getting better.
Tell me about since you brought it up, the Ink series, because that's gonna be my next of yours once I finish going through all the MCs.
Well, and yes, the MC series is different than the Ink. The Ink series is set in St. Paul,
Hmm.
and it was another challenge. My publisher's like, you gotta do tattoo artists, man. They're really big. You'll love it, blah blah. I'm like, I'm not doing a tattoo artist. So then I had this idea. which is what happens, of a guy walking out back and a girl that's homeless is digging through the trash.
Mhm.
And that's book one. And basically, you start off with Finn, who kind of got pulled into something and was arrested, and he served 12 years. And
Okay.
when he came out, he didn't do anything outside of being literally at the wrong place with the wrong group of friends. And so you can't get a tattoo if you drank. So what we do is we have a third, and you go up 3 flights of stairs, you go through the tattoo thing, and then they give you a band, and then you get your tattoo, and then you can go down to the bar. So down below is the bar, which is called the Permanent Hangover. So, and Finn kind of takes Bailey in first as he helps her get a job there, and then he happens to have a duplex because his parents helped him get a duplex, so he rents out one part. Well, he was going to be fixing it up anyway, so he lets her have it while he fixes it up, and they kind of fall in love. But you find out Bailey's brother took her parents died when she was 14. He was 18, so he's like, I'll raise her, and he ended up pimping her out. So
Oh.
she's running away. So she has no ID. She has nothing because she doesn't want to show up anywhere and have her brother find her. And because she's ran away a couple different times. And so it's her coming to seeing herself as more than just a body. She's becomes a waitress there. You know, there's kind of a joke that, do I have to have tattoos because I don't have any tattoos to work here? And you know, the owner's like, well, they kind of just show up, you know. But Finn has his own thing where he can't handle being touched. He can touch anybody. He's a tattoo artist. He's an amazing tattoo artist, but he can't. And Bailey's the one person that can touch him. And it's a slow burn
Mm-hmm.
with that book. I absolutely love it. I love those characters. And then book 2 is Kane and Bianca and their neighbors. And Kane is the nipple king of the Midwest, he will tell you, because he's really good at doing nipples after mastectomies, but he's also really good at, if someone has a keloid scar, he can actually, that's really hard to do that, and make something beautiful out of it because of how thick the skin is. So he's kind of the fixer. He finds beauty in absolutely everything, even his neighbor who hates him and is mean to him and thinks he's a drug dealer because he's always out late at night, you know, because he's a tattoo artist. And he's covered in tattoos, and then he's got this one guy that comes around for once, so you know, and he's covered in tattoos, and that's Finn, another tattoo artist who's going to be book 3. And Kane's kind of the jokester in book 1. Some girl's trying to get knocked off. You know, she had a tattoo done, and she was trying to talk Finn into, oh, I can do this for you, I can do this for you, and then maybe, you know, you can knock some money off. And Kane's kind of the one that's like, I've taken 20 off for a blowjob. You know, why are you being such, you know, that's kind of Kane. You know, Kane's book starts off with him saying, you don't need to have this you don't need bedposts to tie somebody down. You know, I mean, he's elaborate, you know, that's kind of Kane, and that's who he is. And he gets, ironically, Finn says, you know, you're playing to a stereotype of the overly sexed black male. And nobody knows that you're a nerd who goes home and plays, you know, video games all day. And you don't actually have all this sex that you pretend like you do. It's like, quit playing the stereotype. And that's kind of, that little story is, that one's kind of a stereotype story, actually. But
All right, talk about your cowboy series. You touched on it, but what made you want to write? I think.
well, that was a challenge because I asked somebody to write me. She was a cowboy writer, and I said, "Well, write me a black cowboy." She said, "No, you write that." Basically, I think she was probably afraid of losing her audience, but whatever. So we had 4th of July. It was part of that group that switched me into being indie, and we had a 4th of July one. So we actually went to a rodeo, and there was one black cowboy, and he was the roundup guy, and he's the pull guy. He's the guy that basically, if you get stuck, him and another one come and they yank you off. So I did a little research on being rodeo because I had always done athletes. So I'm like, well, rodeo's still an athlete, so I'm good. And I wrote his story, and everybody really liked him. And they kind of wondered about his writing partner, which is Sunshine. And Sunshine got hurt. And so I sent Sunshine home, and his home was basically JT's home. And they live in New Mexico, which is like 1% black, but basically the Long Ranch was founded by The original Longs came out there after they were freed in 1865, and through hard work, because that's all they cared about. They didn't care what color you were when you were a cowboy, as long as you worked. They saved up and they had this ranch, and now there's two of the sons are on there that have, each of them had three kids. One had two girls and one girl and two boys, and the other one had three boys. And then there's Grandma Mima, Mima, who is just spitfire. I love her. But they have this huge ranch, and it's a lot about family and stuff. And Sunshine, his dad was one of the ranch hands, and he grew up on the ranch. And he, this poor white trash lives in a trailer. He comes home. He's supposed to be getting healed up because he hurt himself. And basically, when he shows up, his dad ready to just beat him up just because he's drunk, and he just got fired from the Longs because he'd been drunk too much. So he goes back out to the Long Ranch, and he's like their brother, so he kind of goes out there. But the one girl on the Melody, she's always been in love with Sunshine, and now that Sunshine's back after being gone, she's now a college graduate, and she's a vet, she's a large animal vet, and he's like, well, she's kind of sexy. It's like, wait, she's not the little sister running around anymore. So we've got that kind of, oh no, he's kind of like a brother to the family, and these guys will kill me if they find out. But at the same time, she's letting him know, because she's a very bold woman. She's letting him know that she's ready. She wants something. And then each of the boys, except for one who was already married, the oldest one, Walter, they each get their own. And then there's a little mystery in there because they've got some cows getting sick and some water issues, and yeah, so
Yeah, you have I saw it at the library. You have a fairy tale book?
I have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah, I have well, I did the Effed Up Fairy Tales. That was one that I did with Kasana and yeah, who there's a bunch of people in that one. There's 12 of us. Anyway, and that one is called The Muted Swan, where I redid
Yes.
the Wild Swans. And then I just did Stalked, because I'm starting to do a fairy tale series. I'm trying to do a different one. And Stalked is Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, okay.
Updated. Yeah. And I did that one, and it was supposed to be for the Irie fantasy stuff. So I was gonna put that out, and then I was gonna start that whole series of different ones. And I did it, and I'm like, that took forever, because I'm like, why did I ever choose Jack and the Beanstalk? Because Jack's an asshole. He is. He breaks, the giant didn't do nothing to him. He breaks into his place, he steals all his stuff, he cuts down the thing and kills them. I'm like, and really, the harp is the one who says, hey, there's somebody here, and she does, she's not truly in love, there's not this love story there. And I'm like, why did I do Jack and the Beanstalk? Because you're an idiot. But I made it work. So that was kind of cool. I really do like it. It was it was fun. And I like doing that. And I'm doing a Rapunzel, even though it's going to be in my series, it's going to be attached to an MC series. So that we're all doing fairy tales for MC. Ren's doing Sleeping Beauty. I'm doing Rapunzel, and then I know there's other people somebody's doing Humpty Dumpty. I'm like, I don't know how that works, but hey, whatever. I mean, they're all bedtime stories, but I'm trying to, in between now and when that one comes out, trying to get at least a couple other ones in there, because I really like The Muted Swan. I absolutely loved writing that one. And I didn't realize nobody knew what the Wild Swans was. I'm like,
I didn't. I was like, okay.
I know. I've had like 3 people actually know the Wild Swan. And see, for me, when I was younger, we go to Uptown Video, which is in Minneapolis, and every Friday night we got to go get videos. I was so excited, and I would always get either the Wild Swans or 10 Commandments. Don't ask me why those were my 2 choices, but that was the 2 that I liked. And I found it on YouTube, the version I watched. I'm like, oh my God, this is really sick and twisted. Why did but I watched that thing so much. And I'm like, and my one friend's like, well, are you going to do the guy with the half thing at the end? I'm like, what? Because that's the original Grimm story, was there was 11 brothers, and one of them, she didn't get the arm done. So he still has a wing or something. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go old school Grimm. They're pretty dark.
Yeah, Grimm was, it's a wonder we call them fairy tales and tell them the kids originals are very dark and twisted.
Oh yeah, which is Rapunzel, which is of course what I'm doing. But I'll make it nice. Let's make it nice. So that was another one I really liked. I liked the Rapunzel Shelley Long version that she used to do on something. I don't know. Not Shelley Long. Who's the one from Shelley Duvall? The one
Oh, okay.
from
Yeah.
The Shining. For the one from The Shining. Yeah, she used to do fairy tale stories every weekend. It was when I was little. But who doesn't like a fairy tale? You know?
So you write, like me, you write a lot of different stuff. Is there anything that you want to write that you just haven't done yet? Any subgenre?
I'm working on mystery now. I wrote a cozy mystery because I was challenged to it, of course, and I'm trying to do another mystery. For me, it's hard because I'm always like, oh, I know who did it, blah blah blah. So I always think that I'm giving it away, and I found that things I think I'm giving away, people are like they had not seen it. So I'm like, okay, well that's a positive sign, I guess. But I love reading a good mystery or thriller. I wish I could write one. I listened to one recently called The Wives, and I'm like, oh, I hate you. It was so good. It had such a twist at the end. I'm like, I hate you so much. And like Defending Jacob, I absolutely love that one. They didn't. I was hoping they were gonna keep it exactly like the story because they were up until the very last episode. It was exactly like the book. And then the last episode, they didn't. They changed the ending to make it a little nicer. I'm like, oh come on, the book was so good. Who cares if it's dark? But yeah, so I think that's something I would like to do more of because I love when I get thrown in a book and I don't figure it out 10 I watched this movie recently. I'm like, I know that this is going to be and I knew it early on in the movie. You could just tell, even though they were trying to make it like, oh, you won't know. Like, I'm only going to be surprised if it isn't the ending I think it is.
Yeah, my kids are like, Mom, we can't watch movies with you. You always figure stuff out. I'm like, I'm a writer. My
I
brain
know.
works differently.
Read The Wives. Oh my God. Listen to The Wives because you'll be like, no, oh no. And I'm still a little confused at the end because, it's like, is this maybe? I'm not sure. I like that. It was a good one.
So if you do it, are you going to do it under your name or are you going to come out with another pen name?
No, I tried to have another pen name. I put 4 books out. They were pure, whatever. Now I use my stripper name since I didn't use it in college to strip, and I put those out. And I'm like, yeah, no, I just use my own. Because a lot of times, especially if you do a pen name, especially if you're doing a different genre in that pen name, I have to keep up with that and like be that person. And that's kind of part of the reason why I never put those other 4 books out. They were like, literally, I was working on sex scenes. I sent it to a person that wrote really good sex scenes and said, how am I doing? Am I getting better? And she's like, oh my God, that's a whole book. And I'm like, no, it's not. But so I put them out under the other one and I had to like play up this whole oh, I'm this, and it just, I can't be that. I'm kind of myself. Love me or hate me, I'm just gonna be myself. So I
Yeah.
have to make it easier. And I always people are like, oh, but what about your name? People come after you. I'm like, my husband's 7 foot. Try it.
A former football player.
My husband's 7 foot and highly, highly protective. And shoot, at this point, the boy is 6'4" and protective. Because trust me, he doesn't like to see his mom cry. That's like the one thing that'll set him off. So yeah, if he thinks that somebody crossed me, so I got 2 very protective boys. I think I'll be okay.
Okay, so let's talk about. I didn't know that you have your day job and it's a photography studio, so that's like a
Yeah,
side job.
yeah, that's kind of what it's turned into. Yeah, I used to do photography before I started writing, and I did weddings. I did some other stuff, and then I kind of just put it to the side. And then somebody wanted me. They're like, they couldn't find the picture they wanted, and I'm like, if you can find the right person, I can shoot it, whatever. And I ended up shooting quite a bit. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just throw these up and see if. And since then, I've done quite a. I do shoots all the time. I've got, I think, 90 different models on there, so it's a lot.
Mhm.
Some of them are ones that I work with a lot. Some of them I don't work very often. I might just do one shoot with them. But there's a wide range there. I mean, I've got white, black, Asian, male, female,
Oh yeah.
Hispanic, and if nothing else, I've got that going for me. I've got really hot and sexy because I hired a man to tie people up because you can do that now. He was a bondage guy. Everybody had to sign waivers and couldn't be allergic to nuts or something. I can't remember what it was. So I even got like some really good bondage shots, and I just bought a bunch of crowns, but then COVID hit. So I keep telling him I'm going to do a princess shoot where I'm going to have, all different women with these beautiful crowns, and we're going to rent out a mansion and just take pictures in I have all these ball gowns that I get. I actually put in a loft in my garage so that I could just keep all my collection of costumes and swords and all that stuff. So I haven't done historical too much. I did one that was just like a 50s shoot, but yeah, historical's a lot more. There's a lot more involved with that with really expensive costumes. They're not as cheap as the other ones, but yeah, I try.
I saw that you said I noticed that you were dipping your toe into the actually making covers instead of just, you know.
Yeah. Well, when I got all my rights back from JK, they had 16, 17 books of mine, and that's a lot of money to put on covers.
Oh
And a
yeah.
lot of them, and they were nice enough and would let me use my own images. So I would pay my models and I use my own images. So I already had the base image. So I redid all of the covers. I think I did better with the MC one. So I changed those using the same girls, but I just changed the background, changed the fonts, and now I redid my Chrysalis one. That one I used stock art for that one just because it's been out for a long time, but I really like how those covers turned out. So I'm doing it sort of. I'm trying. I did the cover because Dahlia Rose put out the cookbook, so she came to Minnesota and cooked for me for a week, and I took pictures of it, and so I did the cover for that. And
Oh,
so
nice.
yeah, so and I took all the pictures for inside, so all those nummy. I was really hard. I had to sit there and eat her food all week. It's terrible. But yeah, no, that was kind of our. Yeah, I do all sorts of. I'm trying. I'm learning. I'm not one that's going to be able to like layer and layer and layer. I don't. I mean, cream, I did that and it kind of worked out, but I, you know, I'm still working on overlays and all the different things that go in there, but especially simple ones, which is how I shoot a lot of my images. I shoot my images so you can either cut them out or you can just throw a name on it.
Hmm.
Um, and it's learning, and I shoot some that this way so that way you can have a full wrap. Kind of, and that's kind of my vision when I do it. And I always try to sit there and think, okay, the head's going to be there, how I want it. So that's the way I shoot. I try to shoot it so that even somebody who, if they're going to put out the money for the picture, then maybe they might be able to do the cover themselves. So, but yes, I'm slowly learning how to do that because I'm not a graphic artist, and they have a very big place in this world, and that's a skill I do not have. But I'm
Yeah.
learning. I'm learning just like everybody else. I'm learning, and I'm finding fonts that I like, and learning how to play with them, and yeah. So
Okay. Before we go, let's talk about your conference that had to get canceled because of
I
how did
know
that
my head
happen?
all year long because I'm sitting there going, nope, it's not getting like I had one in Lexington in March, and like it's not getting canceled. They're not going. And then I already nope. And then I had and like my husband's and I'm doing a writer's retreat in 2 weeks, and I said, look, there are 7 of us. We are in a castle by ourselves. Unless the world blows up, we're going. Like this is not being delayed because he keeps trying to tell me it's gonna be canceled. I'm like, this is a 7-person. We're getting away from it all. It is not a big conference, so yeah. But no, my one is in the Mall of America. We're actually inside the Mall of America, not in one of the hotels on either side. So we're in the Nickelodeon universe. It's just a signing. There's not. I mean, we're gonna have an event the night before. We're going to do paint night the night before for anybody that wants to come in early. But it's $110 for the table, and that gets you lunch if you want a full one, 55 for a half or 60 for a half, I think it was. You get lunch. I bring in a catered lunch. We do VIP in the morning. Everybody that's a VIP gets lunch, and we all eat, and then we open it up to anybody in the mall that wants to come. So anybody walking along, if they want to come up there, that's what we had. We had quite a few people that were just walking along. They're like, "Oh my God, there's a book signing," and they came up, and yeah. So it was going to be our third year. The first year we did it, and we were actually in a different mall, and we were kind of where they had Santa Claus. So we had great foot traffic. It wasn't something where we had to have VIP tickets, but at the same time, I don't know, it worked, but it didn't work. And I think we were too successful because they wanted to like charge me 16 times what they did the first year. I'm like, I'm going to go to the Mall of America then, because if I'm going to be charged that much, I'm going to have fun with it. We raised money for Quest, which is KWST. And that's a nonprofit that my husband's the vice president of. And that one works with kids with the EBD label. Minnesota actually has the highest rate in the country of putting kids on the EBD label, and it's mostly kids of color. Mm-hmm. So they work with the family. So a lot of times the family, they get them into therapy. They work with the child to get him better coping skills, and they work with the teachers. So they work on 3 levels because it's not one person's fault that this is happening. But so if all 3 work together, then these kids can get off. And what they're not telling the parents is if you get put on this EBD label, it's a prison pipeline. You won't graduate high school. You'll get a certificate of completion. You won't graduate high school. So you can't go to even JUCO. And here the parents are sending them to school thinking they're getting taught, but they're actually put into situations where they can't get enough credits, and they never tell the parents that when they put them on. And a lot of kids get put on in 2nd, 3rd grade, and they're just labeled all the way through. So their goal is to get them off, get them into regular classrooms, get them better coping skills, make it so they can graduate high school and be more successful. And so what we do is we do a fundraiser, we do baskets, and we do raffle. We do a raffle for baskets. Last year when we did it, we raised like $1,500 or something like that in basket giveaways. So that goes towards programming. It goes towards giveaways for the kids. I know like one of the families, the mom, couldn't afford too much for Christmas. We gave them $150 worth of gift cards so they could get some nice stuff for Christmas and stuff. But yeah, it's a great 3-prong, pulls the whole family, and we're not just going to work with the dad or with the teacher. We're not just going to work with the kid and tell them you have to fix all this stuff to get bright. No, there's 3 levels to how this is. We need the support at home, and some of our families they're thriving now because now they have this support system, and the older sister that's trying to take care of the younger brother who's always getting picked on because he's the EBD kid is now thriving because she doesn't have to worry about that, and she's getting to work out her problems with a therapist. So, and it's just one of those things that's all around it. The whole point is to help the whole family get up and get this kid off the label and get them into regular classes. So, like inclusion classes, it's to put them back into mainstream classes so they're not put into these extra classes where half the time they're sitting there playing video games because it'll keep them calm, and that's all they care about is keeping them calm, and they're being babysat. So it's a great thing, and they're working, they work with Minneapolis School District and a few other different school districts, and they're working, in a big way to look, because trying to get Black teachers in there because there's not very many Black teachers in Minnesota at all, and trying to get other people to understand, to come at these kids at a different level because they're approaching them at a way that the kid doesn't understand, but it's working. But by doing it with the mother and the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, everybody all together, you really can push this kid forward. And one of our kids is sitting there in these horrible classes in another school, and now he's an AB honor roll student.
Wow.
And he's still getting the help, though. I mean, it's not something that is just going to go away in a day, but it's teaching him how to not have these the outbursts that get you in trouble. And when they do, hey, by the way, we have a mentor, and the mentor's going to come and he's going to deal with the principal with you, and how, teaching the parents what they need to do, to what they need to say to advocate for their own kid, because they want to advocate, but they don't know what the words to say. So,
oh yeah,
you're wanting to fight for your kid, but if you come in there blazing, guns blazing, wanting this, and you don't, they're like, no, here, we're going to lay it all out for you. This is what you, and my husband will sit there and I'll hear him on the phone. He's going through, this is what we're going to say to the principal. Okay, here's what he's going to probably say. And they role play it until the parent is comfortable enough to sit there and do it for them. So
they do that here in Florida when my son was about in second grade, because he was playful. He liked to play. He didn't like to sit and listen. And because in pre-K and stuff, if he wanted to go play, they would let him go play. He never learned the discipline to just sit. So they were like, they wanted to test him. And fortunately, one of the ladies in our church, she pulled me aside. She's the one that schooled me, and she was like, Brandon's very smart. She said, but he likes to play. He comes across as not having that much of an attention span. So they're going to try to say he has ADD or whatever. She said, do not let them test him, because if you do, they're going to put him in this category and you will never get him out. And back then, they were putting kids on Ritalin.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, he don't.
Yeah, and they tried that with our son too, and we advocated for him. But we also had him in a Montessori. In a Montessori, it's free flowing. And actually, we had an absolutely amazing teacher named April when he was in 1st through 3rd grade, and it's 1st grade, and he's just crying as he comes out, and he said, she public schooled me, because she had put him in a desk to get him to calm down. And then it became a thing when he knew he needed to actually do something, he would get in a desk, but she worked with him where he was at. And if nothing else, she gave us a great roadmap. And then when he went up to the next level, we noticed this one teacher was not going to work with the kid. She wasn't being a Montessorian, that's the whole point of the Montessori, is to come to the kid at their level, and you will have success. And I mean, his grade, he'd take tests, and he's in 2nd grade grading at 8th grade level. So they're like, I know he's learning everything. I know he's smart. He just does it a little bit differently. And it's kind of teaching that not everybody has to be the public school method. Not everybody has to do that way. Doesn't mean the kid's not learning. Doesn't mean the kid isn't smart. Doesn't mean that they're, ADD, or we know one kid that ended up getting tested, and he's labeled as like severely autistic, and that kid is far from that. He's quiet, but he can have, he has no other real, outside of the fact that he's a quiet kid. He's very successful. He's a D1 basketball player. He's, smart as all get out, but he's got this label on him from some teacher that couldn't figure out what he was.
Right.
When he was little, and it's like, you can't get rid of it no matter what. And it's like, he's not that at all. So
it's sad the way they do kids like that.
Yeah, they'll pencil whip them into whatever.
Mm-hmm. So. And slap that certificate of completion on them real fast, because
yeah, you showed up to class, and sometimes teachers can see beyond that. We had a principal at Jake's high school. She's like, I saw your record, and you got to realize my son was pencil whipped a lot. She's in middle school. I mean, we're talking like 30, 40, 50, random infractions on this and that. And she said, I saw that. I wasn't even worried about it when I saw it. When it came over, she's like, I was looking at what they were saying about you. I wasn't worried. I knew you'd be successful. It's like, that's amazing. You didn't sit there and disbelieve. She's like, I'm looking at them, writing you up because you didn't bring a pencil. She's like, not a big thing. So, and that's what we need, our teachers like that. So,
yes. Anybody in the group got any questions? Our 2 people that's still there hanging with us.
We went over. I see that. Yes, we've got wish list. Yes, I think we've answered all these. Yeah.
I think so.
Yep.
All right. Any final thoughts, Michelle, since I've picked your brain and
No, I was waiting because you said you were going to ask me and everything. Yeah. No, I think we covered everything. Yeah, and at some point, Little Bit will be book 4 will be on there.
oh, I
I'm
know I was
sure
gonna
it will.
ask you. Um, audiobooks.
Yeah.
Did you do your narrator for book one is not the same for book two and three. What happened there?
You know what? Our narrator from book 1 is really nice. He's also from Canada, and I had to do a lot of I had to make him go back quite a bit. He was very nice. He charged a little bit more. Um, and he actually we've done really well in the sales there, but the one for books 2 and 3, we decided we wanted her for all of them. She actually was doing she auditioned for The Rotation, which is a book of mine, and I heard her on there, and I'm like, I thought, you know what, I really just want her for all the MC books. So there was partially was cost, partially was because I was constantly, you know, and it was my fault because I think I did something with 3 outs, and it was like she was about to go out to the, and it was just like, for a poor Canadian. I mean, he had to go back and do that a couple times to get a boat to go out to do, you know. And I was like, "You're from Canada, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yes, I'm sorry. I thought I got them all." And I just, I really like Kat's voice. I think she does a really good job. And yeah, and then it's kind of like I've got some other series where, well, like the Guardian's Heart, I think I'm going to try to get her to do the rest of that series. I had somebody who I they did fine eventually. It's one of those things. There's a lot of excuses made. Um, so yeah, so it's kind of timing too, because like my cowboy book, I had somebody do the first 3 and he didn't want to do any more. So
Wow.
well, it was sales issues because that was before you paid them, and because I do a pay and a royalty share, I just do because I don't have enough to pay their prices. So and it was just something he was like, I can't do anymore because they're not selling enough for me to consider, do it. And it's just fine, I get it. So the last 2 hopefully will be, I don't know, somebody's been contracted for a while to finish it, and I'm kind of going back and forth on just yanking it from him, but I like his voice. But yeah, so that's why. But Kat's already signed on for all the MC books that come out. We're gonna do a break. We're gonna do book 5, and then we're gonna do a break until May, and then do the next 5, over the summer next year. And then I've got the same guy is doing all my Ink series, and he's gonna do all my football series because I like their voice. So, and I had somebody else going to do the football series, and she ended up having a lot of family issues and couldn't finish it. So I just contracted the same guy because I thought he had tried out for it too, but I liked her voice, and so I'm kind of just swapping it back around. I really am just using Logan and Kat right now.
Okay.
As long as they're willing to take my money. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get my husband. My husband keeps saying he's going to do one. He says he's recorded a few chapters for me of one of mine. I'm like, I need him to do like a whole series. I'm like, dude, if I showed you how much I was paying for this, I bet you anything you'd be recording all night long to get him done.
Yeah. Could he do the voices?
Oh God, yeah. I put because I have a little brainstorming crew, and I actually sent them. He did the beginning of my Frozen series, book 1, Shared Redemption, and I sent it to them. And first one of them who knows Reggie's like, "Is that Reggie?" I'm like, "Yeah." Oh my God. I'm like, exactly. I'll give him some really weird name when I upload it, whenever he does it. But yeah, I want him to do him. His voice is he's got a really good voice for it.
Good. All right. I don't have any more questions. That was everything that I thought about.
Yay! We covered everything. Nothing left unturned. Good. Well, thank you for having me. Since I can't see you, since I get to see you this year, and I won't get to see you next year because I had already signed up for something else like the week before, and then when they canceled IRA, I'm like, well, when they put it on that same weekend, I'm like, I can't go now. I'm like, there's no way I can spend 2 weeks in Florida.
Yeah. I told Kasana, I was like, I told her and Denise, I said, yeah, I'm not feeling the whole travel thing yet, so I don't think y'all are gonna see me in April. Because I was like, well, we're just gonna wait. We'll
Yeah,
wait.
just wait, because it might, you never know. There might be something, you know. And for me, it was just because I have one that's on the other side of Florida the weekend before, and it's a Thursday through Sunday one too. And I'm like, I can't take 2 weeks off living in Florida. I would go crazy. I'm like, I'm from the north, man. I'll melt. You should see me
Oh,
when I go down to
yeah.
watch my son. I go to my son's football games, and I'm just like, please, someone throw ice on me. I can't take it. It's too hot.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to our group, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad I discovered your books.
Me too. I really liked when I listened to that contract book, I was like, oh, all right, Zena, I like that. I know it's like an older one of yours, but I'm like, all right, all right. I see how you start your books. Nasty.
Yeah. All right. So we will be talking, and for anybody that's in the group, I'm gonna go through and I don't know. I'll see who posted the comments because I can't see it right here. It just says Facebook user.
Facebook user. Yeah. Also I have Olivia. Olivia's the one. Olivia knows how to get things to work right.
Yeah. So I'll be doing the prize thing. And you said you had some audiobook coupons. Did you decide to
Yeah.
do this?
Yeah. How about this? I'll give away one. Let's see. I think I don't have one copy of Preacher Girl and one copy of 2 ink minimum. So you tell me who to send it to, and I will send them a copy. I'll send them the code so they can have 2 ink minimum or Preacher Girl. I don't really have many of the other ones left. So
Preacher girl. Who's the Bible expert? Because she's laying them scriptures down. Like,
it's
okay,
Google.
up in church. I mean, I was like, go girl, you just quoting scripture.
Oh gosh, yes, she does. No, that was Google, man. I that was Google to make sure because I'm like, I might know something, but I don't know something, so I'll go into Google and make sure I get it right. Because I'm like, oh, better. I don't want the Bible coming after me for copyright. I better make sure I got this one right.
Yeah, I'm on the part where, just so you get an idea where I am at it, because I gotta go finish listening to it. Um, where he's just suggested that she go to church with what you call Red's
With
mom.
with Maggie, yeah.
Yeah, to get a different perspective because all she knows is the cult. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Daddy's word is one word. So
yeah, wow. I want to do an escape book. I really did. That show is fascinating. The escape from
yes,
polygamy. I love it.
yes. I'm also a Sister Wives fan, so I like it from both sides. I like them both. Junk TV, I'm all about it. No, yeah, that
It's just
it's
it's fascinating. I wouldn't want to do it, but it's just the culture. It's like
yeah,
it's mind-boggling to me.
exactly. And my thing with it, especially like Sister Wives and whatever. I'm like, nobody had a problem with Hugh Hefner with three women that he wasn't married to or wasn't committed to. But everybody has an issue with Cody, who has all these kids and he's married and he's committed to all these people. I'm like, we need to look at that from a society, and you know, and why can't I have 7 husbands? Sometimes
Okay,
I
reverse hair.
need. I know that's a reverse harem. Come on, hello. So anyway, I'm like, come on now, people. I need someone who can do. I need a plumber. I need construction worker. And this is totally, I need one that's just for me. The other ones are just to make money and to make sure I have everything I want done in the house. Come on. I want one that travel with me. You got to get him. I don't know. So yeah, but yeah, watch that Escaping Polygamy, man. That'll give you some ideas because that's some
Yes.
messed up stuff.
All right. Well, again, thank you. It's getting late here. It's like
Yeah,
almost 8:30. You still got a few
I
hours.
do. Yes, I see the boy is calling me because I think he had a football game, but they had to travel, so I think he was letting me know that he got home. So
Okay. Yeah, my phone just was ringing, so he was calling me. All right. Thank
Well,
you again.
thank you. See you.
Bye.
Bye.